Hey friends, how's it going? This is Wolf, and in today's video I want to show you guys how to build a music agent in Telegram. So I think most of you guys have heard about Suno, which is an amazing AI tool to create music, but we've actually built a Telegram bot for that to use the Suno API and give a simple prompt and then have the bot create a full song for us within a couple minutes. And I'm going to show you how to build this exact full n8n workflow without writing a single line of code today. So let's get started. So Suno is an amazing tool and I like using it a lot, but it does not offer an official API out of the box. So we will be using a third-party solution and it's called sunoapi.org. And basically what it does, it's kind of like a wrapper for the front end, and they offer an API for that. Okay, kind of like Midjourney or some other tools. Um, so the way this works is pretty simple. You basically just make an account here. I'm trying to do that right now, but I think it is kind of disabled. So yeah, it is disabled right now. It did work like a little while ago though, so I've actually done that already. And it'll look kind of like this. And then you just kind of, want to copy your API key and use it in just a little bit. So we want to keep this in mind. So before we get started, we will have a quick little overview here about the API. It's basically pretty simple. We can either just generate music, and we do have a couple of different options to do that here. Or we can generate the lyrics first in the lyrics generation here, and then use these lyrics here for the actual music generation, and then also get the details, download it, send it to Telegram. That's kind of the plan, okay? So I think without further ado, let's get started and dive into n8n. So I'm just gonna hit create a new workflow here, call this something like music agent. And then first things first, as well, most of the times we want to start with Telegram. So I'm going to say on message, we want to select the music bot here as credentials. So if you haven't done that already, you can just make a new bot. It's super simple. I've also shown that in the previous video, and connect your token here, and then you should be good to go. So we have our Telegram trigger here. Let me zoom in a little bit. And then pretty much we can start right away with our HTTP request here, right? So whenever we do HTTP requests, basically it's pretty good to just quickly go into your into the docs. So specifically for this, we want to have the general lyrics docs, and then you can just copy this curl here, and then you go to n8n to this, and you basically have like everything that's needed, right? So what do we want to do now? We want to go to our API here, copy the key, and put it into our bearer here for the authorization header. Just paste it here, okay? So this is for all the auth to talk to the API. Now, we do have a callback URL here that we can just kind of, ignore. We don't need it right now, so I'm just going to leave it on the default. And then what we do want to change, obviously, is our prompt, right? So this is going to define the lyrics that are being created. So to do that, and actually let me rename this, because this is going to be a task and we need to retrieve updates on that task. We want to test the workflow. Actually, we just want to test this little okie dokie thing here. And now we just want to say something like, create a song about AI rap style. You can also like define style and all of that here, because we will need that in a later or at a later point when we have AI talk to Telegram and retrieve information. So we basically just put everything in one single text message, style and topic and content, and then the lyrics will create a task based on that, and our AI model will create all the rest, like the style, negative text, positive text, and all of that. Okay, so well, now it did use the wrong task ID. Should have done that before, but it's fine. So we want to just grab this here, and basically the text, whatever we sent in Telegram, it's going to be our prompt here for this body payload, and the rest looks good, so that should be fine. So we can actually go ahead and test that, receive the task ID, and now we can build a tiny loop here. You don't have to build like a loop. You can also just say like, you want to wait a minute or whatever. But if you do want like to have like a tiny loop, you can also do something like wait 10 seconds, right? And then you want to go have another HTTP request. We go into the docs again. We go here, copy this, which is to get the details. We go here, we import the curl here. Well, that was my API key. Let me see. We copy this already, and we go here like that. And we do need the key though, so we also copy the key again and put it here for our authorization. We do not need anybody. It's just a simple get call to get an update on our lyrics task. Well, and where do we have the ID? Let me see. We do need the ID, right? So it's gonna be a query parameter task ID already. So we want to add this here, task ID, and it's going to be, need to execute this for a second, wait 10 seconds. And then we just want to drag the task ID into this value field here, right? So it's just a simple query parameter. So we drag it here like this, and that should work. So let's execute. And as you can see, this has been completed already. So this status is very important. It's success, and it gives us two texts. We can use the first one or the second one or both. I'm probably just going to use, well, both. Although I think this is kind of like two different versions. So you can also just use the first one, right? Whatever you prefer. So now we can just do a simple if checkup, right? And we can check for our status here and see if it's success. We can convert types if needed. Like that maybe. And then if it's false, we just go back to the wait loop and we wait again until the lyrics have been successfully created. And if they have, we can go for the next step, which is actually going to be an AI agent. And now, oh, I think on this account I do not have it connected yet, but that's okay. So we want to have, well, we kind of need to do this once, do a quick check here, see if that's true. And then once that's true, we also need this. And then we also need the system message, and I've prepared a system message already. So let me open this up here, put this in. This is just like a very simple system message to tell our agent what he's supposed to do. Now we also need something else though, and that's going to be the user prompt, and that's why I said we will use the same Telegram text here. So we drag the Telegram text here from the first node. So it's going to use the same prompt. So it also has info on the style, on the, like, you know, keywords, text, and all of that. And now we can do a couple things. So first of all, we want to connect the chat model. This could be a Google one, this could be DeepSeek, Mistral, OpenRouter, Grok, anything. I'm probably just going to use OpenAI. And then we need to add new credentials here. So if you haven't done that before, let me show you how it works. So you just go into your OpenAI dashboard here on platform.openai.com. And you want to go to API keys here. And then you want to create a new secret key. Call it something like music agent, like that. Copy it. And you want to put it here. Now we're going to rename this something like music agent or whatever project you have on the OpenAI backend. Save it. And voila, here we go. So now we can select the model. Now, if you're not sure what model to select, you can also just go to the docs from OpenAI, which is here right next to dashboard. Here it says docs. And for example, the new 4.1 model has been released very recently. It's pretty strong. It's smarter than the default 4.0 model, also cheaper. But for a fairly simple task like this, without like any reasoning or without being like fairly intelligent or whatever, also this has a gigantic context window, which is cool. We can just use a simple model, so we can hit compare here and maybe compare it to like 04 mini, or oh well, no, 04 mini is a very strong new model. We want to have 40 mini actually, which is much cheaper. We can also compare to a pretty simple model like 3.5 maybe. Where do we have it? 3.5 turbo, for example. And here we can kind of compare everything. We can see, okay, the pricing here, you know, the turbo model is pretty fast. The 4 mini is even faster though. It's also more intelligent and it's also cheaper. So 4 mini just wins the race here, not to be confused with the new 04 mini, I know OpenAI's, naming is kind of doesn't make the most sense, but anyways, we wanna go with the 4 mini because it's super cheap and it's also pretty intelligent and super fast. So we are going with the 4 mini model here. That looks good. And then we can just add the default buffer memory from n8n. And well, we can just put like any key here. I sometimes just do like or chat ID, but it really doesn't matter too much because we don't even need to use the memory here. And then for the output parser, we will use a structured output parser like that. And then just give me 1 second because I've also prepared something for that. We're just going to copy a little example here like this. So this is basically just the way we want our JSON output to be. So we want to have the style, the title, custom mode, instrumental, model version, negative text, callback URL. Some of these we don't specifically need this AI model to set because we can also set it later at the actual HTTP call. But in case you wanna have AI decide that and maybe also disable custom mode if you give it more instructions or use instrumentals without lyrics, then you can do that as well, but you can also just change it whatever you think is best. So I think that should be it for our agent. So let's go ahead and run it, see what it comes up with. So it's talking to OpenAI, it's thinking, and it's giving us this little output here. So style is rap, AI cashflow hustle, it's custom mode, false 3.5, because we kind of told it to always use that. Then it's setting in negative text, which we want to avoid, and the standard URL. So that looks perfect. Now we can go ahead and make the next HTTP request here. So we go back to here, we select music generation, generate music. We just copy this full prompt here, go back here, import the curl like that, import. Now let's go back here, get our Barra token, which is our auth key, go back here. I hope I'm not doing anything like too quickly. And now we can just call this something like create audio task. So the way this works again is kind of like queuing a task, and then we need to retrieve updates on the task. It's going to be a post method on this API, on this base URL. Auth is handled in the headers, and now let's go through this. So prompt, now this prompt is actually the lyrics in this custom mode. You can also use like a very quick basic mode, not the custom mode, and then you just give it like a prompt and it does everything in the back end. Here I feel like we have more control, and I'm just a big fan of like having more freedom and more control. So here we want to go back a little bit and actually put these in, right? So you can just put this in, and now that basically this is going to be using the lyrics that we created previously. The style, now we want to have our style here that our own AI agent defined. The title, we also want the one that our AI agent defined, so we can just kind of drag and drop everything. The custom mode, now you could drag and drop, but I'm just gonna leave it on this hard code here because we want it to be custom in this case. The instrumental, we want it to be false because we typically create lyrics, so we want to have lyrics as well. I'm also going to hard code the model, and I'm going to use the text here, the negative text from our AI agent. The rest can stay as follows. So this looks good. We can run this. Now, as you can see, it's also queuing a new task, giving us a task ID. So now it's kind of, we built another loop. So we add a wait node here. Again, we can kind of wait 10 seconds, right? So this is the task wait, and we can run that. And then after that, we need to get the status, right? Get our update. So we want to go to the generation details here, and then you just copy the curl again. I love how we can just import curls, and especially if we have docs, it's just so easy and so straightforward, and so it's so easy. So here we want to have our same Barra token again, like that. Kind of put it here. Very important, you need to have a single space here. So you want to have the auth header authorization, then you want to have Barra, and then one single space, and then your auth key, okay? And now we can just say something like, well, get updates or whatever, okay? So we do need the ID though. It's not in the curl, so you just have a quick check here. It's again a query parameter task ID. So that means we check this little query field here, task ID, and just kind of from our create audio task, you know, drag and drop it here. So it's using this one. And that basically means, you know, here it's basically just adding this like that as the task ID. So if you wanted to do it manually, you could also do it like that. We could, frankly, we could also just drag and drop it here like that, you know, that could also work. So whatever, you know, whatever you like more. This I would say is a little bit more clean because n8n kind of offers this field, but there are always many ways to do it, you know. So let's see what this does. Now, as you can see, this gives us a little bit more information about the task and everything. Very important again here is the status update. So first success means the first track has been created. It's actually generating 2 versions again, kind of like a lot of video models as well. And we want this to be the full success to actually proceed with everything. And as you can see here, for example, it does show a stream audio URL. So if we want to open this, this means this is being streamed in real time. So it's changing in real time. If you need like real-time transmission, then you can use that, but we basically want to have the full final MP3 file, so we kind of want to wait for these to fill, you know, and for the status to be fully success. So again, we can have a simple if check here, call it something like check query or whatever, you know, and then we want to have this status here, and we want to have this to be a full success, convert types if necessary, like that. And now we can just run this again. And as you can see now, this is a full success, which means we do have our URLs here. So in that case, we can, well, actually, if it's not, we want to, you know, kind of loop. If it is though, we can just go ahead and download the audio. So we do have a very simple GET request here. We kind of need to execute this once. Hold on, now it's executing everything. Give me 1 second. Why is it executing everything? No, we don't want that to happen. It's kind of because the way, and I think that was not the case previously, but if you change the flow, like connect this back, then this could have 2 different inputs, and then it just kind of corrupts the workflow, which is a little bit annoying. So I'm actually, let me see, we don't have the, you know what, let me go to executions, and let me go here. Let me copy this to the editor. Let's see what this came up with. So it's going to be the audio URL. So you know what, we can just say this very task for that, so it matches the other flow. And then I'm gonna say the Suno data 0 audio URL. We just want to do that, right? And we're gonna call this download audio. And now what this does basically is it's just going into this here. It's going to our Suno data here in the array, the first one, so this object here, and then it's getting the audio URL, which is basically just this one, and this is the full song, and it's actually almost 4 minutes, which is pretty crazy. So let me just kind of finish this, and then we can have a full iteration of the full workflow, okay? So, well, we are pretty much finished actually. So the last thing we want to do is go to Telegram and send an audio file just like that. And it's also pretty easy. So it's going to be a binary file data, and it's going to be, let me see, from this trigger here. So we can just copy that, put it in here, and then it's actually I believe the chat.id. Yep, that is that. Okay, perfect. And then we call this send audio, for example, right? Just like that. And now we can unpin this data, and I think we should be good to go though. So let me do a quick check. So we do have our prompt here. We create the lyrics. We kind of wait until it's fully created. We have the agent do the rest, you know, like style, title, text. We create the audio task. We queue that, kind of wait for the task, query it all the time and get the updates. And then we download it and send it on Telegram, right? So well, I guess I can kind of use the same. So we want to hit this again, and I kind of want to show this. So let me have this here and have this here, kind of like that. So like this. Now it's going through this workflow. Let's see if everything is working. This may take a little bit, you know. So these updates here may take a little bit of time, but while this is loading, we can just kind of go through the docs again and see how everything is going. If we need anything else, I think we should be good though. As you can see, this API here, which is unofficial, right? So it is unofficial. It's just like a third-party solution. This is the official one, and they are not affiliated. So, you know, also feel free to use the official Suno. It's an amazing tool. I love it. But they do not have API, so I was kind of looking for a different solution. And instead of building like my own wrapper like I did in the last video and build my own ChatGPT image generation API, I was like, okay, you know, let's just use this. It also has pretty good pricing, and yeah, it's pretty cool. So you can do a lot here. You know, you can even do vocal removal, video generation, conversion, and much more. So it's pretty cool. You can extend music. You can also get timestamp lyrics. So, well, we could actually, in one of the next videos, we could also do like full music video and, you know, maybe run like a faceless YouTube channel or something. But for now, let's see where we are here. So everything has been created. Let's see, we do have some good text and everything here. That's cool. So task has been created. We're just kind of querying the task here now. As you can see, the status here is text success. So if you go into the docs, that means for the generation details, we are at the very beginning. The lyrics has been completed. Well, we also created them previously. Now it's generating the first track, and then it's generating all tracks. And well, hopefully it's not fading, you know. But those are kind of the different like strings or enumerations you can get, right? And we want to have this one up, of course. So let me zoom in a little bit. So, you know, those are the ones we have. Also, sometimes I would get this error here, the sensitive word error, especially on here. So it would say lyrics failed. And then sometimes it's because it's like a famous a band or something. And when I would cue something like, you know, when I would cue something simple like, you know, create a 80s themed song about a road trip, it would mark road trip as a flagged word, which, you know, you kind of have to keep that in mind, that they have some words blacklisted. So yeah, now it's still going through here. We are still creating. So the first track has been created, so we're just waiting a little bit. As you can see here, this one has been created, and now we're just waiting for this to fill, right? So this is the first one, and this is the second one. It has been created now. Everything is done. So let's look here, and as you guys can see, we do have our song here. So let's give it a try.
Coke dripping, algorithms in my veins, flipping ones and zeros, stacking digital gains. AI, my assistant, cash flow insane. Silicon dreams fueling my champagne rain. Stacking codes, we printing dough.
All right, so yeah, that's pretty much our agent. We do have our full song here now as MP3. We can, you know, play it here. We can play it on the phone. We can download it. We can share it. All of that, everything. Also, if you need more, if you need like more details or files or whatever, we do have more information actually. Like the API gives us a lot about info about the song. So we do have two versions. We could just send both, you know. We also have the duration. We do have like titles and all of that. We could also just, you know, append that. We also have an image URL, I believe. So let me see what that looks like. Okay, it just, you know, uses an AI generated image probably. So you could also send them. I feel like, you know, I kind of want to keep this bot fairly simple. So instead of sending like all images and, you know, text and all of that, I'm just going to keep it kind of simple. Well, we can do a little bit maybe. So we can add a little caption here and say something like probably the title. So from our, oh, it's going to be here, the query task, and it's going to be, well, the title is even before, but we can also just grab this, right? So we can say something like that, and then if it's sending, oh no, it's executing the previous nodes again. Well, yeah, this is because we do not have these lines here green, and the workflow was kind of finished already. Anyways, so The next time we send this now, it's gonna have a little caption here, which I think is pretty cool. But the song is already done, you know, so this is pretty much the workflow. There are 1,000 ways, you know, to change this. So if you guys want to modify this a little bit, if you don't want to create your own lyrics here, if you want your AI agent to fully create the lyrics, you can also do that. Just modify the system prompt here a little bit and have it create everything. Probably some other models are also super good for that, but I feel like, you know, the Pro Mini is a super good all-rounder for pretty much all these simple tasks. And there's so much more you can do, you know. Instead of these loops, you can also just have a fixed wait time, or you can get more updates on the single stats, you know, like even send updates like, okay, first song has been created, now waiting for the second one has been created, and so forth. This bot, I just kept it super simple. So, you know, we give it a prompt, it does the job, and it sends us the final file, right? And yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. So let me know what you think of this workflow. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. If you do like these guides and workflows and tutorials, I'd be super happy if you subscribe to my channel to not miss any future videos. And well, yeah, we're just getting started. So there's so many more projects to, you know, to build and to record ahead of us. I'm super excited for that. I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out, Wolf.